And we're on.
We're on.
We're on.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm very good. And welcome to this edition of At Home with Cynthia and Maria. Tonight we will be doing chapter 3 of our audio book, The Art of Survival.
Yeah.
Women coming together out of the darkness of abuse.
Yes.
Chapter 3 is about forgiveness. So we need to be very focused because there's a lot going on. The horrible Hurricane Ian that made his way through Florida a few days ago. Huge amounts of damage. So our hearts and prayers go out to all the families. Yep, who are suffering through loss and of life and property.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Our hearts go out to you, our prayers go out to you, and we know that it will get better at some point. So hang in.
Amen.
We're with you.
Amen.
Okay, so about forgiveness, where to begin? When you are dealing with, well, any abuse, really, forgiveness, I would say for myself, probably, okay. So when I started learning about forgiveness in the sense that to forgive someone who has caused you harm, discomfort, whatever, pain, suffering, I used to always say, hell no, how do you forgive that? And then many years ago, I was watching Montel Williams.
I liked Montel.
I did. I liked Montel too. But until I did some more research. It's okay. So that's a whole different thing. I'm going to stay very focused tonight. But so I was watching his show that day, and there was the topic was forgiveness. And they had these fathers and daughters on there that the daughters had been molested by their fathers that were on this show. And I think it was the dads that didn't know why they were there. And so the whole forgiveness thing was a surprise to them. And I got all teary-eyed and started thinking, oh wow, that's really cool. I'm really glad that they can do that, that they can sit there on live TV and forgive their monster fathers, that did that to them. And then I got to thinking, well, I'm going to call my dad. I'm going to call my dad. I'm going to forgive him. He says, I said, I'm calling because I want to forgive you. And I'm just crying my eyes out. And he says to me, I know. I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm thinking to myself, really? My tears stopped instantly. I was not sad anymore. I was not feeling ashamed or guilty in that moment. In that moment, I went from feeling like I owed him something to, who the hell is this guy?
Yeah.
And it just, that is a true pedophile, that they don't think that they've done anything wrong. And all their friends outside of them love them and think they're great and wonderful. But when they're inside, I talked about that monster lizard that I would see as a little girl sitting outside and looking back at the door,
At the
the
door.
screen door, seeing the monsters, the lizard monsters. And I thought, wow, okay, reality check. So I learned that
Yeah.
sometimes we forgive people because it helps us to move forward. It's not always about that other person that you say to them, I forgive you. And it's, it's really meant to free yourself so that in that instance, so that I was able to move forward. I didn't have all that
Are you there,
ugliness.
Cynthia?
And yeah.
Cynthia. Oh, you just froze up. You froze
I
up
did.
for a mere second. Yeah. I don't know what happened.
Okay. So, well, it'll show or not in the video.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to roll with it.
And I'm listening to you, and when you said, and everybody doesn't really, you didn't say it like this, but everybody doesn't see who these monsters are, right?
Right.
So a lot of times, and you've heard this before, a good liar is somebody who believes their lies, right?
Yes.
But a lot of times with these people, they're good liars to their friends. They're good liars in their social circles. But you take them out of their element and you put them somewhere in like a courtroom, not great liars. And here's the thing. And I've seen this a couple of times in my lifetime, unfortunately. They're not great liars because they're out of their element. When you approached your dad, he was in his element. He was still in his safe space,
Yep.
And a lot of times they can't this is me just like thinking, I'm not sure that this is always, but I think that a lot of times they've convinced themselves, a good liar convinces himself of his lies, right? Or her lies, or,
right.
Whoever they are. They convince themselves of a story, whether it's fictional, it's totally made up in their minds. They've created a story of how to handle the fact of what they've done, right? Because they have they have, and I don't know if this is going to come out wrong, so help me with this, because you'll know what I mean when I say it. It's like a victim. We have to live with those memories, right? We have to, and sometimes, unfortunately, me and you at some point were going through these stages of surviving our abuse.
Right.
Not just our abuser, even when you get away from your abuser,
right,
you have to learn how to every day survive your abuse. And what I mean by that is because those memories, a therapist, a psychiatrist, a psychologist, a pill doesn't get rid of those memories. Therapy, a psychologist, a psychiatrist, a psychologist, a life coach, they're there to give you the tools to help you cope and move on in a positive direction from your abuse, and to be able to handle those memories. But nobody's going to give you a lobotomy. Nobody's going to rip them out of your head. No. Those memories are there. So where I can be brought back to those moments, as I have in court or at other times in my life, and I totally break down because I, unfortunately, sometimes those when
triggers.
yeah, when you have triggers, you can't apply those tools very well. Okay. And sometimes if you have to relive them in order, whether you're going through a court case or whatever, and you have to, those are different circumstances. You have to, in order to survive and to protect yourself and to find protection, sometimes you have to relive certain things. But what you want to do is walk out of that courtroom and be able to apply those tools immediately, to the point that you're, you know, if I have to explain myself over and over in court, of course, those are going to be triggers. Of course, I'm going to have some kind of an emotional reaction. But what I've learned to do once I'm able to walk out of that courtroom or out of, away from whatever has triggered me to bring me back there, I'll apply the tools that I've learned. And, you know, in talking to me and Cynthia, we will help you to understand that the tools aren't tangible. They're not something that you can grasp onto. The tools are in here. The tools are in here. The tools are inside you.
Right.
You have the ability and the tools to take, whether it's baby steps at first or leaps, depending on what stage you're in, but to take that action towards your intention, towards removing yourself out of that place. It doesn't mean in the back of your head you don't remember. It just means that you will have the ability to create a safe place in your mind so that you kind of like put it on a shelf in your brain, and you're able to move forward in your day, go to work and live in the moment. Living in the moment is one of your strongest tools. Being able to bring, and Cynthia has said this to me for years, just be in the moment, be in that moment of just seeing what's in front of you. My children are in front of me. My parents are in front of me. There are good parents out there. There are bad parents out there and good parents. Okay.
Truly.
There, the people I trust are in front of me, or whatever's in my world right now that's positive, trying to find a positive light that you can move forward to and connect with. Connect with the fact that it's sunny outside and you get to walk and see the trees, the changes of the seasons. My neighbors walking there. I've got the best neighbors next door. Oh my God, I'm so glad I moved. I had great neighbors before too. These neighbors are really good too. I've been blessed with great neighbors. And, you know, I remember my neighbor saying, I was driving up and he said, "We're so blessed to live here. We're in the woods." And he was talking about the trees and it was like I'm not going to go into the conversation, but the whole conversation was about nature with him. I had just met him a couple of times before, and he was just sharing with me how he appreciated just being able to walk his dog, look at the trees and the acorns, or what, you know, because I had moved here in the fall, last fall. And it was so like he was living in the moment. He probably had other stuff going on in his life like everybody else does in the world. But at that moment, with a neighbor that he barely knows, he was appreciating the fall weather and the trees and the ability to walk his dog. And that might sound like not a big thing to some, but if you can remove yourself out of that angst and that worry, even for a little while, a couple of moments a day, you'll see that slowly creating those patterns of, I'm going to appreciate, I appreciate the trees. And then in the next hour, you're appreciating something different. You know what I'm saying? But creating those moments of being in that moment. Right now, my enjoyment is talking with Cynthia and learning from her. And maybe she might learn something from me, but I usually learn a lot more from her. But you know, in those moments, you appreciate the things in your life that sometimes we fail to take notice of because of all the worry and the angst and the anger and we become jaded and closed off. And, you know, we don't want to do that.
No, no. When we speak of forgiveness, you know, we speak of God's forgiveness, but being human and forgiving. People who live without forgiveness, who can't see their way clear to forgive, they are typically miserable people. They, you know, they may have everything they could ever want for, but their lives, they live in misery because they hold on to all of that ugliness. They hold on to all that anger. And so this chapter is about helping you to learn how to move forward, how do I get myself going? And Maria's right. You know, if you're in that place where you just can't see your way to forgive the ugly things that have happened to you in your life, the ugly things that may still be happening to you in your life, then look to this day. Look to what's in front of you. Is there something good that you can look at? Right now, fall is setting in. A lot of places across the country have beautiful, beautiful leaves. The leaves are starting to turn. I know up where Maria and I live, it's, you know, the leaves have been turning for a little while now.
Yeah.
So here the leaves are almost done, but you know, to look to what you can enjoy in that moment. If in that moment, you know, you can't think of anything, give it over to God. Ask God to help you find that way to, it's not about acceptance. People always telling me, oh, just accept it. Just get over it. Just move on, you know? Okay. So how do you do that? You have to have, like, when you're painting a picture on a canvas, you have to have what's called an imprimatura, which is the background, a solid color, a solid base. So you have to have this solid base so everything else comes forward and it pops. And it says, hello, I'm a painting. It's kind of like that.
Yeah.
You know, when we're looking at the idea, just sometimes the idea of forgiveness, how do I forgive? How do I do that? See it as like that. It's your base. It's your imprimatura. It's your starting point. You know, just look to understand the depth of forgiveness. God is the one who will determine whether he forgives or not. God is the one who will bring upon their karma, not me. And they certainly did have their karma. And that was not to me to do that. That was
Don't
to
play
God
God.
to do.
You know, and you hit on a point too. And you know what? There's some really rotten people in the world who absolutely have a beautiful life. and then die. Then there are babies who have cancer. I don't know if I believe in the karma thing, because there are too many infants in Sloan Kettering, and there are two who are going through horrible things and wars. And so, yeah, but there is a higher power, and whether it's in this life or in another life, no matter what your beliefs are, whether it's heaven or reincarnation, whatever it is, doesn't matter. What matters is eventually all of us as people, the good people, the bad people, the people who try their best and sometimes fail and get back up, we all are going to have to learn our lessons in life. There's, you can try, you can lie to your priest, you can lie to your rabbi, you can lie at a mosque, you can lie wherever you go. The fact is that the people who run the churches and everything else, they're people. They're ordained, they're very religious, and I give them a lot of credit for living that kind of life and being, if they do it well and they're good people. Not all priests are, I'm not going to get into what's going on in what religions and stuff and the bad things that some priests do. I think the majority of them are good. And I've said that before, like with the cops and everybody else, majority of white people, black people, all people have good in them. And there's a couple that are stupid and rotten apples and ruin it for the rest of society. But they're people. A priest is a person. A good person, but a person. And they make mistakes, just like I do, and Cynthia does, and all of us. But all of our stuff and abusers, that's not for us to punish them. It's for us to protect ourselves. And I'll tell you right now, I will protect myself this time. Okay. I'm not going to go through the abuses I went through, because if you go to our other videos, I've spoken about them. So you can go and watch other videos, and you're welcome to see, my opinion. Cynthia's done some shows on her own, and then we've done some together. Okay. Political ones or whatever. That's just what this is. This is a show where we're growing. And we have learned so many lessons, and we have so many valuable tools to teach our clients when I'm, finishing up my courses and stuff. So, and Cynthia does also. And I've learned so much from this woman. I've learned so much about myself through my friendship with Cynthia. And I value all my friendships. I think they've all brought me to a different place. For different reasons, I value them. But the one thing that is different between my friendship with Cynthia is that we both kind of understand what it's like to be in that dark place. And I have beautiful friends who have beautiful marriages. I love marriage, by the way. Okay. Just because it didn't work out for me doesn't mean marriage isn't valued to me. My parents have a great marriage, probably the best that I know of. One of my best friends, I call her my Puerto Rican sister. She has the best marriage, I have friends who are married and have these spectacular marriages. So just because something goes wrong in our lives doesn't mean that we have to hate people who are in good places. I'm so happy for my friends that have that. I'm happy for my friends who haven't had to go through what I went through. I don't wish that on my worst enemy. To be your identity is taken. When it's physical abuse, you can die. Obviously, emotional abuse is bad too. It can kill you up here. So. What I'm saying is, for somebody to want to trash you, take you down a path for fun because they get enjoyment out of it or some kind of power, we have to say stop. we have to say we value ourselves too much, and we will not let one more human being in our lives make us feel like that again. What I value with Cynthia is that she has taught me to look at things from a different perspective. I keep going in and out like I'm I feel like you know, like when you used to watch Star Wars and they used to beam out and like you lose color, and that keeps happening to me. Like I go white and then I'm tan again. So weird. But there I go. What are you gonna do? But you know, you have to be able to be honest with yourself. When you're forgiving somebody, it's a conscious thing. You're consciously thinking, I need to forgive this person, right? It's deliberate. It's a deliberate thing to say, I'm going to forgive, not for somebody else's abuse to me, but so that I can move forward. We say forgiveness is for you. It is not for your abuse. You forgive the act. That doesn't mean you're bringing in people who are going to hurt you. That doesn't mean that gets rid of that fear.
Right.
When somebody has hurt you on the level of almost taking your life. And even if they didn't succeed at killing you, they succeeded in ripping apart who you are, your identity, your ability to see good in yourself, your worthiness. They rip out your it's almost like your soul. And you have to learn how to rebuild that and go, I'm worthy of having good friendships like I do with Cynthia. And I'm worthy of having good relationships with my children. I'm not a perfect mom. I don't know a perfect person. I don't care how many degrees you have, doctorates you have, whatever. I don't care if you went to Harvard. You're not a perfect person. None of us are perfect, right? But we can strive to be the best version of ourselves. And that's not always going to be perfect. That's going to be an everyday task of being in the moment, of being conscious of our actions and what we say to each other and how do we act. That's deliberate, by the way. It has to be deliberate. People go, oh, she's so nice. You know, she's just naturally nice. No, because I'm not going to get into it. I told Cynthia, I got in trouble a long time ago about the devil. Whether there's a devil and God, or whether there's yin and yang, or however you want to spin it, or talk about it, or you know, I believe in Jesus and God. I have trouble with the devil because
it's all good.
I do have trouble with it. Okay, I got in trouble by a priest one time.
It's all good,
you know, because
you know
their
how
version
we
is
choose
if
to
there's
survive,
good
or
there's
how
bad.
we choose to believe.
Right.
You know,
but I think we all have good and evil inside us.
Okay.
You have to choose to do good. It has to be deliberate to do good. We can all have a bad side, right?
Okay.
Everybody can.
That would fall under intentions.
Intentions. Your intention needs to be to wake up every morning and say,
but we're talking about forgiveness.
Right. But intention and forgiveness really go hand in hand.
I suppose they could.
If your intention is to forgive, you have to have intention to forgive somebody. You got to. And acknowledge what the hurt was. You have to come to terms with it, because as victims, we hide it for so long. We pretend it didn't happen. I got a black eye. I'm putting makeup on for like a week. Those are things that happened to me. Not being able to, getting punched in the head so hard that you're not capable of thinking for a couple of days. That's a concussion, probably. But so when you're hiding it from your friends, oh, Cynthia, I'm doing okay. Everything's great. Oh my God, I'm so, we're all good. When you're hiding it from people, Cynthia and I haven't come to the place that we are in so easily. We had to rebuild our lives to get to where we both are, right? Cynthia's had to rebuild.
Absolutely. That all, and that goes back to that day I watched Montel Williams and made that call to fully understand forgiveness. Like my children finally forgave me for my inability to be a good parent. And so that's something you look forward to, because that means, that really means a lot. But when you say things like, somebody who has no mind, that their brain is so fixated within them own selves, there is no, the forgiveness then totally has to be about you. And because in that moment you free yourself from their psychological grip on you. There's still healing that goes with that. There's still a lot of pain that goes with that. This kind of healing is not something that just happens overnight or in a short period of time.
Yeah.
And you have to be ready for the journey, because the journey can be very painful. And when you get to this part of the journey where you find yourself questioning about forgiveness, know that it's about freeing you. That in those moments when you say those words, and you don't need to say it to the person, write them a note, write a letter, send a text, but that's it's a long haul. It's a long haul, forgiveness.
Absolutely.
Acceptance. I never went with acceptance because I don't accept that kind of abuse. I don't accept when people act on that kind of abuse. And I believe there are other ways to deal with children and adults other than doing the terrible things that some parents do or some people do. And so kind of what you went through, Maria, when you were going through your trauma was a lot of what I went through as a child. So that comparison is very, I find it interesting. So I'm glad that we got together to do this audio book. I think it's important for women in our age group, especially, particularly, who, oh, that's a great one for the next chapter. I was going to do something else for the next chapter, but I think I'll do this for the next chapter. I like this. I had this couple of gal pals who were horrified that if they dealt with their past, one had a really abusive husband, and she felt like if she dealt with that she literally would die because it was so painful. And I think my mom must have experienced that same thing. If I deal with this, what's going to happen then? What's going to be left of me? And will I live through that? Of course you will. But I like that. Will I live? Will I live? I like that for will I live? How will I live? Well, I don't know. It just seems like put in the comments, when you get to this part, write in the comments. What do you think about it? I think I like chapter 4. I like the idea of talking about, will I live? Will I live through all that? I don't know if I can go through all that. I don't know if I can go through the memories, so I like that. I'm going to save my talk for that next chapter. So in the comments down below, when you click on like and share, and then leave a comment for us. That's how we help each other. It's how we help each other grow. Leave your ugliness to the side. Your opinions are fine. We can like them or not. They're your opinions, our opinions. Maybe they don't match. Who knows? But we're not going to know unless you leave a comment.
Yeah.
So help us to achieve our goal of getting out there to the many thousands of women who are suffering still to this day. We know you're out there. I know that we are not alone. I know that. I know that. Maria and I know that we are not alone. We know there
Absolutely.
are thousands and thousands of women who are suffering. And particularly in today's world, with everything that's going on, women are literally in a battle for their very existence as a woman. And I find that very unfortunate that through history, how long have women fought to embrace freely the very existence of their lives as women?
Yeah.
So I'm really like, it's late. I really would love for you all to leave a comment. Help us to get to 10,000 watchers, subscribers. Oh my gosh. How fabulous.
Yeah,
would that
we're
be?
just, we're starting out, and like we never advertised our show before, at the beginning, and we never kind of like did the live streaming and all of that gets all the numbers. But do like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell. I know we
Ding,
should be
ding.
saying this at the beginning, for those of you who can't finish the video and don't hear this part, but it's so important, because I think that our words and like I said, when I become a life coach, and Cynthia is, the difference between us is we've lived it. And I really do think that there are great life coaches out there, and not to put anybody else down. But the fact is, even doctors and therapists and psychiatrists who have not been abused, law enforcement, judges, it's easier to judge and say, well, why didn't you call the cops? And why didn't you do this? And why didn't you do that?
Exactly.
There's not a great understanding unless you have been a victim, because nobody gets it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Nobody. I can watch a television show and I can go, oh my God, he's behind the door. Or, oh my God, why didn't you do this? Or why didn't you see this? Or why did you react like this? Or why couldn't you hold it together? Because you're looking from the outside in.
Yep.
We have been on the outside. We've been on the inside and the outside. We've been all around.
Yep.
And we know it from both ends.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And there's a difference in that. There's a comfort in knowing when somebody says, yeah, I get how you feel, that they actually get how you feel.
Right.
Somebody who has not been victimized and slaughtered,
mm-hmm.
because that's what you are. You're like an animal that's going in the slaughterhouse.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Your abuser finds their prey. They find the weakness or whatever, that vulnerability that they're looking for in a human being that they're going to get, attack next.
Mm-hmm.
And they zoom in on your insecurities.
Yep.
And, I think that we really need, maybe not in this show, but to talk about red flags.
Oh, sure.
To give you some tools to understand when somebody's trying to tell you. There are people who compliment you and really mean it.
Yep.
But you have to know the difference, and we'll get into this maybe in the next show, of how to understand a predator and how they work. Because in order to reel you in like a fish, they need to throw the bait, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the bait is to get you in your comfort zone.
So how about who are we? Or who are they? Who are they? Who are they?
Who are they? What do they look like?
Okay.
How do they speak?
That could be the chapter. That could be chapter 4. Okay, so we're gonna push forward. Chapter 4 will be who are they? So on our next show, now Maria is going to be on vacation, and she's going to have a lovely, lovely time. I'm so excited for her.
Well, I was thinking now, I'm having my computer down there. We have Wi-Fi in the house, and I would love to do a show from.
Okay, let's do that.
I'm not saying where.
From vacation. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's just say vacation. Okay.
But
so,
yeah.
So you want to, so we will, next week's chapter 4 will be who are they? And I'd still love to hear from you. We would both love to hear from you. Leave comment, like, share.
Right.
And,
I'm only going to be gone for 2 days.
Subscribe and ring the bell. Mm-hmm. And then we'll get into chapter 5. Will I live?
Bring my computer.
How will I live? Bring your computer. Don't forget your computer. Even if you do, we can do it on your phone.
Right. And I don't see why not. Like I said, I'm only going to be gone for 2 days. So, and then I'll be home, but I'm going to bring my computer, and we can do the show just like we always did on Wednesday, or, whichever day.
Very cool. Very cool. I'm excited. All right. So thanks for hanging out with us, and God bless you.
God bless you.
Yep. Stay safe out there.
Absolutely. And this was really a lot of fun.
Yes. Okay. This was a good chapter.
This was a great chapter.
And thanks for joining us here at home with Cynthia and Maria.
Yeah, definitely.
Bye for now.
Oh, like, share, subscribe, hit notification bell.
Like, share, subscribe,
Subscribe.
and ring that bell.
And share.
Share.
Get like,
I'm sending
listen-
subliminal messages.
let me tell you something.
Like,
This is
subscribe.
really a show for 20-year-olds to 100.
Yeah, and absolutely 18 and
Yes.
older.
Got it.
Absolutely.
For women,
For women.
but the men can subscribe. They just can't watch. No, I'm
Truly.
kidding.
They can
Listen, we welcome everybody to watch.
absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a show for women about women
Mhm.
because we are women.
We are women. Born women.
Born women. Let's see. I've got to stop this thing. Stop.